Hey, my beautiful bitches, it's me, Fiona St. James, and welcome to another episode of Fiona's Coffee Talks. And as always, I like to start off every day with a fresh, hot, black cup of coffee. Hold the cream! I'd love to. And of course, I think of my favorite quote of the century, which is Oscar Wilde, who said, "Life is too important to be taken seriously, so lighten up, folks." Anyway, I'm excited about today's episode because it is, drumroll, story time. Part 3 of Shirley Squirrely. Girl! Okay, first of all, it's Sunday, 2:15, April 25th. So, I did a part 1 and a part 2, which hopefully you guys have seen. If you haven't, watched that first before you, hopefully you'll watch that first before you see this. So, in parts 1 and 2, good old Shirley, she was trying to set up a home on my fire escape, and I kind of jacked her shit up and didn't realize that it was, a squirrel trying to do that. And anyway, but since then, it's like I've grown rather fond of her. But, but she hasn't been around. So, in the last month or so, periodically, every time I go to my window, I'm always like, I wonder where Shirley is. Because I'm demented like that. So there were a handful of times that I actually, from a distance, I saw a squirrel and I was like, oh my God, is that Shirley? So because I'm so fascinated by Shirley, I decided every time I go to the window to see, let me see if I find her, I always have my phone with me to take a picture. So probably 5 different times, I saw a squirrel from a distance and I zoomed in to see if it was Shirley or not. And I don't think it was, because in all 5 cases, each one of those squirrels was ready to kill me. Literally, one had a knife, one had a pistol, one had a rifle, one even had a bazooka, and the other one was in a stance ready to attack me. I think it's because Shirley had told them what I did, and maybe these were her friends, and maybe they don't realize that she and I have since become friends. But I took pictures, so I want you to see. Check them out. So you see what I mean? Is that some crazy shit or what? I'm like, where did these bitches even get all this shit from? Anywho, so then fast forward, it's a few days later, and I'm looking at the window, and I'm like, gee, I wonder where Shirley is. And I see that on my fire escape, there was half of a dried up Kaiser roll that had been chewed upon, and then there was also, it looked like it was part of a peanut butter jar, because it was definitely a plastic jar, but the bottom was missing. There was no label on it. There was no top, but it was half of the body of it. And I thought to myself, that looks like it would be a peanut butter jar. And I'm thinking to myself, why is that on my fire escape? Now, you got to understand, I'm on the top floor, so the only thing above me is the roof. So I'm thinking, is someone maybe hanging out on the roof and fucking throwing food on my fire escape? It was weird. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was odd. So, I took my little brush and I brushed it off and let it hit the floor. Fast forward a couple of days later, I look out the window again, and damned if that same plastic jar, same exact one because it was such a distinct shape, was back on my fucking fire escape. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then I thought to myself, and it just so happens that the spot that it was in was where Shirley had been trying to built her nest before I threw her ass out. It was in that same spot. And I thought to myself, oh my God, is this Shirley that put this back there? And she's trying to fuck with me because I do shepherd's code. So I don't eat carbs. So I don't eat no damn Kaiser roll, and peanut butter causes inflammation, so I don't eat peanut butter either. So I'm thinking, surely this bitch, she's taunting me. And then, so when I saw that, I yelled out, I'm like, Shirley, was that you? Just yelled it out loud, and then all of a sudden I hear this weird kind of noise. It was sort of and I look, and sure enough, there was Shirley on the tree, and the bitch looked like she was laughing at me. I mean, her whole little body was shaking. When she noticed that I saw her, she immediately covered her mouth, and then a second later, she did this cute little innocent pose, and I'm like, this bitch. Now, just so happened that I had my camera for that as well. So, and of course, I took pictures. So check that out. Is that nuts or what? Okay, so then fast forward, like a week later, we had that one isolated day where it was like 75 degrees and it was beautiful out. So I go to my window and sure enough, there's fucking Shirley sunbathing on my tree. And I was like, oh my God, Shirley. And she looked so cute and innocent. So I ended up, excuse me, I took my chair and sat next to the window because that's really the only window that I have in this apartment where I see something other than the windows of the building next door. So it's kind of like the only view that I have. And then suddenly, I don't know, maybe I think I'm the squirrel whisperer or something because I'm sitting there on this chair next to the window. There's Shirley sunbathing. And I proceed to talk to her. Now, in my defense, like, I see a therapist once a week because I think mental health is everything. And that particular week, he had to cancel for whatever reason. So all of a sudden, I'm thinking like I'm in therapy. And I'm sitting here talking to Shirley as if though she can actually understand me. What was really interesting was as I was like talking about whatever, she's sitting there and it almost seemed like whenever it was the appropriate time for her to like nod her head or agree or react to what I was saying, she would. So if I was sitting here and she was like facing that way, even every now and then she would even like look at me, and it just so happened that it would be right at the exact times that she should have. And I'm thinking to myself, could this bitch actually understand what I'm saying? And then I'm thinking to myself, am I demented? I spent like literally like 15 minutes there thinking that I was in therapy, talking to a squirrel, Shirley. And then I had been binge watching The Crown, and I even paused it because I was like, oh, Shirley, oh, Lord, she's going to be my therapist. I don't think that was planned. It just kind of happened that way. With this bitch, after about 15 minutes, I guess maybe I was disturbing her sunbathing because then she like kind of looked at me, did a little side-eye thing, and then looked at me, and she was like, bitch, shut up. And she got up and left. She walked out when I was like in the middle of like something dramatic that had happened. And I was like, oh, talk about abandonment issues. But in the meantime, like in between all of that, I took pictures as well. So check that out. Is she the cutest thing or what? So first we had these other squirrels that were ready to kill me. Then we had, cute Shirley laughing at me with peanut butter. And then Shirley, the therapist. And then, last but not least, fast forward. So there's one day and I look at my fire escape and there was like one of those individual boxes of sun-made raisins that had been like torn up, like half gone. And it looked like it had bite marks. And immediately what I thought was, what is this with this fucking food that keeps on appearing on my fire escape? And I thought the same thing. No one lives above me. And I immediately thought, is someone like getting in the building and like hanging out on the roof and throwing shit? But then I thought, no, my God, I think this is Shirley again. So then I like yell out, I'm like, Shirley, you bitch, was this you again? I swear to God, out of nowhere, this Shirley shows up. So I'm like in my apartment, here's the window, and it was like literally like right there. It was like 2 feet away from me. And this bitch, as soon as I said her name, she came, like, I don't even know where she came from. She appeared out of nowhere. And so if this is where the box was, she suddenly like ended up like a foot away from it. So then, of course, I have my camera and I was like, I'm gonna photograph this bitch. And do you know, she slowly but surely, first she's like looking at me, giving me side eye, but then she actually turns and looks at me. But in the line of her view was also this box of raisins, half torn up, bitten up box of raisins. And then I did a whole photo shoot of her like inching her way towards it, and she like works her way to it, and then suddenly like she literally takes her little head and puts it in this damn box of raisins. So there's headless Shirley with her damn head in a box of raisins. And then the next shot you see is her actually sitting on her hind legs with the box of raisins there. And there were a few raisins in there. And this bitch is sitting there eating raisins. And I was like, oh my Lord, this girl is so cute. She found raisins. then I'm like, well, did she maybe like bring that up there herself beforehand, or did it just happen to be there? And then I like called her name and she came running and was like, oh, look, the bitch left me food. I don't know. All I know is she must have been hungry, because then right after that, like she like literally like heads in, dove in, took out every raisin that was in there, ate about 3 of them, and then even like started chewing on the damn box. And then she's such a pig, she like leaves and left the box there. I'm like, bitch, clean up after yourself. I think it's nice to do that, but that's the squirrel for you. So anyway, I took pictures of that as well, so check that out. Is that nuts or what? But you know, I have to admit, I love me some Shirley. So after that fact, last but not least, final part of this story was that then one day I like go to the window and I'm like, Shirley. And sure enough, there's Miss Shirley looking all cute and innocent, smiling at me. And I was like, girl, you want to move in and live with me? And remember the first time around, she had a few of her friends with her. So when I asked her that, it was almost like she understood me, because she was like, who, me? And I was like, yeah. So I'd like everyone to meet Shirley. This is Shirley right here. These are her friends. There's also her little one. This one here likes to hang out on the tree in these little branches. So now I got all these cute Shirley and what I call the squirrely Shirlettes. And then that way they also keep company. My cute little bear Teddy, my cute little duck Quacky, and of course my cute little cow Moomy. So girl, this is an animal kingdom up in this house. And you know what? They're easy to feed. You don't got to walk them. That's about the best I could do at this point. So, you know, I keep the window open and she goes in and out. They all do. It's like a goddamn jungle habitat in here. And every morning when I have my coffee, Shirley always joins me there with her little coffee cup, and we chew the fat and all of that. So she's kind of become like my best friend. So that's the story. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here with me and for indulging and listening to my Shirley Squirrely Part 3 story. The saga continues. And now I think that's going to be it, because now she's living here with me. Whoever thought I'd have a roommate? 7 to be exact. They're easy. They're easy. And, you know, they pay me no mind anyway. They're all so shady to me. They're like, bitch, do your own thing. We don't care. So, all right. On that note, thanks for tuning in. If you like what I had to say, of course, give me a thumbs up. And I look forward to seeing you the next time. And I'm going to end with a couple of little pictures also for you guys to see of my cute little Shirley. Bye, guys. Love you.